It's not your eyes that would fail first. That's the thing I want to open with, because everybody guesses wrong here. You ask someone, what happens if you never blink again? And they picture dry, scratchy eyeballs, some discomfort, maybe, redness, nothing dramatic. Fine, that happens, and we'll get to it. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is something happening in your brain, roughly 15 to 20 times a minute, that would simply stop, and you'd have absolutely no way of knowing it had ever been happening in the first place. Let's kill the first assumption because it's the one holding the whole wrong picture up. We think blinking is just eye maintenance, a little windshield wiper swiping across the lens, clearing off dust, keeping things smooth. And sure, that's part of it. That's the boring mechanical layer, and it's true. But here's the part almost nobody knows. Every single blink, brief as it is also quietly switching off a piece of your visual processing. Your brain has been hiding that blackout from you every few seconds for your entire life. Here's the mechanism, straight, no metaphor yet. During a blink, activity actually drops in certain visual processing regions of your brain, not just because your eyelid is physically blocking light, but because there's evidence your brain is actively suppressing your awareness of that momentary gap. You don't experience the world going black the way you would if you deliberately closed your eyes and paid attention to it. You blink something like 15 to 20 times every single minute of your waking life, and you have never once consciously caught the blackout happening, not one time. Your brain edits it out before it ever reaches your conscious experience. So, what happens the actual moment you stop? Let's follow it in order, because the timeline here surprised me the first time I looked into it. Your eyes are coated in something called a tear film. Thin, layered, made up of oil, water, and mucus components working together to keep the surface smooth, clear, and evenly wet. Every blink refreshes that film, smooths it back out. Stop blinking, and within seconds, genuinely seconds, that film starts breaking apart unevenly. You'd get blurry patches first, little zones where the film's gone thin or gapped. Then the exposed surface starts drying out entirely. And here's the part that escalates fast. Your cornea, the clear front surface of your eye, needs to stay moist to stay transparent and functional. Left exposed, it starts suffering actual cellular level damage. This isn't a slow discomfort building over an afternoon. Some of this starts within under a minute, except here's where the whole premise runs into a wall, and I think this is honestly the most important twist in the entire question. You can't actually stop blinking through willpower alone, not for long. Blinking is largely an involuntary reflex, run below the level of conscious control, triggered by dryness, irritation, and something like an internal timer sitting in your brainstem. You can suppress it for a bit. Try it right now. Hold your eyes open. But the urge builds and builds until it overrides you completely. Your eyelids just go. This is one of the ways your nervous system quietly protects you from your own decisions. You could try to stop blinking forever, and your own brainstem would simply refuse to let you succeed. And that sets up a paradox I find genuinely strange the more I sit with it. Blinking looks like an interruption, a break in seeing, a tiny gap in your stream of vision. But it's actually part of what makes continuous, stable vision possible at all. Without that periodic refresh, and without the brain-level suppressions smoothing over the gaps, your visual experience would probably be more disrupted, not less. Glare building up, blur creeping in, irritation constantly dragging your focus away, instead of one clean, hidden reset every few seconds that you never even register. The thing that looks like it's breaking your vision is actually the thing holding it together, which brings up the real mystery, the one that's genuinely still open. Why does the brain bother hiding the blackout at all? Researchers have found specific brain regions, ones associated with detecting change or interruption, go quiet specifically during blinks, almost like the brain is deliberately cutting that moment out of your conscious experience, rather than just ignoring it. But why evolve a system that actively conceals something so brief, instead of just not caring about a 50-millisecond gap? That's not fully settled. There's a reasonable idea that it's about preserving a sense of visual continuity, useful for survival, useful for tracking a moving world without constant flicker. But that's an interpretation. It's a good guess sitting on top of a real observation, not a fully proven mechanism, and I think it's worth being honest about that gap. And there's more we don't know here, which I actually like admitting, because pretending otherwise would be dishonest. We don't fully understand how much of this suppression is your brain predicting the blackout in advance versus actively blocking the signal in the moment. Those are two different mechanisms, and untangling them precisely is still ongoing work. We don't know exactly why blink rate varies so much between people, or moment to moment in the same person. It goes up when you're bored, drops when you're deeply concentrating on something, like reading a hard problem or staring at a screen. And we don't have a complete account of how this constant invisible editing shapes our broader sense of time passing smoothly, continuously, without interruption. It's a small mechanism, blinking, takes a tenth of a second, but it's sitting underneath something much bigger about how now gets constructed for you at all. Here's where I want to widen this out, because I think it says something bigger than eyeballs. What you experience as an unbroken, continuous visual world, one smooth, uninterrupted stream of seeing, is in a small but very real sense curated, edited. Your own brain is cutting out thousands of tiny blackouts every single day, without asking your permission, without informing you it's happening, and stitching the remaining footage together so seamlessly that you would swear under oath that nothing was ever missing. You trust your visual experience completely. You treat it as the ground truth of what's real right now in front of you. And that trust is built in part on a system that's been quietly hiding gaps from you since before you could talk. So here's where I want to leave it. Not resolved, because I don't think this deserves a tidy bow. Your entire visual life has been full of small, hidden absences, thousands of them every day for your whole life, edited out so skillfully that you never once caught your own brain doing it. And the same mind capable of that quiet, constant trick is the exact mind you rely on completely, unconditionally, to tell you what's real, what's happening, what now even looks like. Go ahead, blink, right now, on purpose. Ordinary, unremarkable. Takes a tenth of a second, gone before you'd notice. And somewhere in that tiny gap, your brain just did the same invisible edit it's done millions of times before, and you'll never catch it in the act. That's not something wrong with you. That's just what seeing has always actually been.